Good afternoon, everybody. We're here 2 days before Christmas. I'm here with Lee Clark. Actually, Lee's not really his first name. I'll let him introduce himself in a minute. He was my barbershop many years ago at Marion Correctional, the only black guy that knew how to cut white guys' hair. So, of course, I had him cut my hair there. He never charged me anything, but he did a great job. Today, Lee is having some issues with the pro board and when he was out last time, and we know how corrupt the pro board is, so I don't think I need to go into it any um any long. Hey, Mr. Clark, share what your first name is and a little bit about your back history.
My name is Leodius Clark. I'm currently 50 years of age as of now. I'm incarcerated at Delmont Correctional Institution in St. Clairsville, Ohio.
Hey, you were having some issues. You were out on parole, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir. 2011.
right, and they violated you when they promised not to, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, why didn't you share a little bit about that incident?
Well, exactly what happened was I was out of prison where I was released from Marion Correctional, where we was both at together in 2011. And 90 days after being out of the halfway house, which I spent 90 days there at the Oriana House up in Akron, Ohio, I was busted with some narcotics and a lot of cash. And I was arrested by the Boardman, Ohio Police Department, and a detainer wasn't lodged against me during that time by the Adult Parole Authority. And I contacted my parole officer, and he told me, well, if you make bond, just come see me. So I called and I asked, well, if I pay $135,000 bond, is there any way that it will be revoked? And he said, no, I wouldn't revoke your bond if your family paid that type of money, but let me see what my supervisor says. Just sit tight and hold on until I can get things figured out. So I sat approximately 32 days in the county jail waiting for an answer. He finally gave me an answer and said, well, if you can make bond and come see me. So I made bond that very next day. I went to Akron, Ohio. I seen my parole officer, who was currently my parole officer at the time. His name was Alec Gilchrist. He was in the Akron unit. And his supervisor had come in and seen that I had made bail and come out. And she basically, like idle threat, said that, well, no, you're not going to be out here. You got caught with a bunch of drugs and some cash. So I immediately looked to him, for some, somebody to, fix this ordeal, because I was told something else before I made bond. But make a long story short, they never violated me. Well, they never locked me back up. What they did was they violated my parole, but they chose to deal with it locally in-house, as what they called it, and sanction me. So the three sanctions was I was going to do 90 days house arrest, which was going to be my incarceration part, 500 hours community service, and then I had to abide by all the court orders from my new charges in Mahoning County, Youngstown, Ohio. I did everything that was asked of me. I was called in once I completed the house arrest and the community service. They removed my ankle monitor, and they reinstated my parole. They transferred my parole from Summit County, Ohio, in the Akron Division to Mahoning County in Youngstown. And once they transferred my parole to Youngstown said, well, since Akron already violated you and did what they did to you, there's nothing left for us to do. So you have to give us 1 year clean on parole before we can consider you for release. Well, no new infractions, no new violations. I did 20 months clean of everything, and I was recommended for a final release from my parole while still out on bond on my pending charges. And before my new case come about, I was recommended for release from parole. Well, as my paperwork was filed and put in for me to be released from parole, my new case came up to go to court on, which I already had agreed upon that I was going to plead guilty to the new charge. The APA and everybody was aware already that I was pleading guilty to these charges. I wasn't going to fight them because the drugs were found in the trunk of my car along with the cash. So I go to court, I plead guilty, to come in the mail. So he gave me 1 week. And from that moment, which was March 18th, 2013, I pled out to the charges that day. We went through the formal hearing. They continued my bond to March 22nd, which was that Friday. I left, I went home and continued on bond. That Friday, I came back to turn myself in. Still didn't have my final release, but I got my other affairs and everything in order. I said, well, I noted to the judge that I didn't receive my final release. He said, well, I spoke to the APA, and the APA said, well, they already dealt with you. When you go back, you wouldn't see the parole board on whatever remaining time you have left on your almost sentence. But you will have to come out and do that 1 year old law parole with whatever PRC time that I'm giving you today. I go to prison, never had a violation, never seen a revocation hearing, never seen anyone about the parole board or anything until I had 32 days left on my 3-year sentence. I went through re-entry. Parole officer went out to my house, approved my address. They sent me my release papers and everything in here for me to sign them. I signed them, and with 32 days left, the parole board called me up there and told me I wasn't going home. And I asked them why, and told them that I wasn't supposed to see them. They said, well, we know how parole board, we do what we want to do. You're not going home. I said, well, I was already sanctioned for this situation back in 2011. They said, so what? We don't care. We're recommending that you do 3 more years. So from that moment forward, I've been sitting incarcerated, falsely incarcerated, still at the Belmont Correctional Institution, under those charges of a violation that the parole board rendered up against me when the violation was already completed.
Do you remember any of the pro board members' names that heard your case?
Yes, sir. I remember Fritz Rauschenberg. I remember him personally. I remember Cynthia Mauser. And it was actually about 6 more there. I can't remember who they were, but
Right. Well, with Cynthia Mauser on there, you would never have a chance anyways.
yes.
She's one of the most corrupt pro board members, and now she's over everything regarding parole and everything. Rothenberger retired. So, and the pro board now they have is really no different.
No different at all. The same thing is still going on under the direction of Mike DeWine. He had implemented to the public that he was fixing things. He was trying to add more diversity. But to that point, that's just to appease the public whose families have incarcerated loved ones in here under the direction of the parole board. But nothing has changed. Nothing has changed.
Yeah. Well, when you have a governor that only thinks prosecution because of his past jobs, you're not going to get a fair shake from the governor. He's the one that sent a memo to the state legislators not to work with me. Excuse me. I guess I felt flattered that he knew me that well. But
the thing was, your movement had some push to it, and it had a lot of muscle behind it.
Right.
They were really considering your reform that you had offered because you made a lot of good points. I actually got a copy of it.
Yeah. Well, we had a sponsor to introduce it named Mr. Brinkman, but when the media came after me, he backed out. They came after me because somebody contacted Block Parole. And then they contacted the media. I was the easiest candidate to come after because of my record. They didn't tell the whole truth. Some of it was, but not the whole truth. And the sad thing is the media goes with the establishment. They don't do exactly what is fair or honest. And the guy that did the story claimed to be a Christian. And if that's a Christian behavior, I have a problem with it.
Yes, sir. Well, we know God don't like ugly.
Right. That's why I wear my mask. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Just to add to what I was saying, if it's okay, I actually contacted my parole officer in Mahoney County at that time, and I said to him, I said, well, they telling me I'm not going home next month, sir. Is there some type of new change or something? He said, no, that's not true. I said, well, I just came from the parole board. He said, no, you didn't. I said, I ago, and they told me that I'm not going home next month. And he was like, well, let me call and find out what's going on. Well, he actually called my fiance back at that time, and he, just was very apologetic to her about the whole entire situation, where he was explaining to her that they told him that he needed to mind his business as to what was going on with me and not worry about what was going on and just keep his mouth closed and continue to do what he's doing. Basically, like, almost threatening his position as a future parole officer. And he just told me, like, he said, it's not right what they're doing, it's illegal what they're doing, they're not allowed to do that, and just left it at that. And I reached out, I contacted quality assurance, I explained everything to everybody. No new information has been discovered. Well, the information that has been discovered is there was never a revocation process ever ordered. There was never a revocation process ever held. Because if, APA had told me, well, look, Mr. Clark, we're going to sanction you for, these violations, but if you return to the ODRC in some way because you found guilty of these charges, then you'll be dependent on the parole board for release. They told me simply, in fact, which I had the paperwork on, you would not see the parole board once you go back to the ODRC. You would not see the parole board at all because we dealt with you already. Well, the parole board just disregarded what they said and hushed everybody up. And I just been sitting here. Next month will be 7 years past my date of release. And, after contacting my new parole officer, her name was Amy Hoffman at the time. I was supposed to be released January 25th, 2016. And she contacted my fiance January 26th, 2016, in regards to my whereabouts, asking how come I hadn't reported in. And she basically got to, get nasty with my fiance, saying, well, he has a warrant out for his arrest because he never reported in this morning. My fiance went to tell him, well, he was never released from Belmont. He's still down there. She said, well, honey, they tell you got two girls that all the time, and then have some other girls come pick them up. He was released yesterday at 9 o'clock a.m. I'm sorry to inform you. She said, ma'am, I've been talking to him all day from the Belmont Correctional Institution phone. Please just check into it and believe what I'm telling you. Well, you let him know he has an arrest warrant out for him. So I guess she did do some checking into it. She called back, never apologized, but explained, well, apparently the parole board has him sitting there. I didn't even have him in my records as seeing the parole board, so I don't know what's going on. I'm confused about this situation because I was never informed that he was to see the parole board or anything. Everybody was under the clear knowledge that I wasn't to see the parole board, but the parole board themselves. They just basically kidnapped me and just kept me sitting here this entire time.
Yeah, the parole board acts as guide, jury, and conviction.
Yes, sir.
And there needs the parole board needs to be reformed. We still had the proposal that we would like to get it introduced, but it's hard with little people that are willing to help. There's only a handful of people that will go the extra mile to try to make these changes. Folks, if you're out there and if you're willing to help us fight this battle, people like Mr. Clark and so many other people, John Peters Jr., I could go down the list of people. There's probably under the old law, I'd say there's probably 3,000 people that still need to come home, and I'd say 80% of them. Who?
About 8,000 left still under the old law.
That many?
They hide some under new numbers.
Wow. I Googled, I did research not too long ago. I came up with around 3,000. But you're probably right. You're still in there. And since I left, the system has changed. It's gotten worse. When I was there with Mr. Clark, Marion was actually a decent camp. But when Jason Bunning left and Warden Beetler and Christine Money, and now this deputy warden that came there for a while from Mansfield ran it like it was a closed facility, took out a lot of the good programs that they used to have there. Marion used to be known as the faith-based camp pretty much, but things have changed. I opened up Belmont years ago. It was like a baby Lucasville. That's when Warden Tate was the warden there, the one that caused the riot at Lucasville, who was supposed to have been fired. All they did was transfer him to Belmont. So, folks,
As they do,
yeah.
As they do with other employees that are caught stealing or embezzling, they promote them. I mean, I think if the taxpayers knew how their dollars were being spent, I think they'd be kind of unhappy with it.
There was a lady that was up at Grafton that had a sexual relationship with a guy in the gym. That's where she worked in the gym. I'm not going to say her name, but she got caught in the sexual act. She got walked out by the State Highway Patrol. A few months later, she was working at Lorraine Correctional. But if it was one of us on the street, we would have been arrested, thrown in jail. Remember, when you're locked up, you're a ward of the state. You cannot consent. I would have. I mean, if it would have happened to me, I would have said thank you. But you can't do the wrong stuff out there. But we're going to close this for now. Later, can you call back in about a half hour? We're going to do a Facebook Live.
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome. I got another call coming.